Wait. Oh. Oh. Oh.
Hello and good morning.
Rami!
I must have connected with an alternate universe, a mirror Star Trek universe in which Hyro has been replaced with his mirror double, his opposition.
Is this my left hand or right hand?
It looks to me like it's your left hand. Are you giving me a Roman salute as they did in the original series?
Okay, acts a lot like me.
It's my left hand.
Good morning, Don.
Done.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Rami.
I overslept.
Yes, you did. That's okay.
Dominic.
Ding
The
dong.
whole thing is here.
Everyone came early for you.
The,
Even Rami. I got the pleasure to see Rami twice now.
the wake up and think clearers. The thinkers.
Rami, to the rescue. You.
Rami is here.
Morning,
Dominic
Dominic.
is here. Hi, all, says Dominic. Um, it's a wonderful April 1st day. 2023.
Used to be the start of the new year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why they've referred to it as April Fools, because all the people who decided to reorient to January 1st would call the people who use the old date fools, to kind of dehumanize them, to ignore them, to make their date for the new year be the date for the new year.
Kind of like we do with anything. When you disagree, you pummel the other side. Interesting.
Oh, and now you know the rest of the story. I did not know. I'm a fool for not knowing. Oh, there's. Oh, here's the topic. What is opponent process theory in psychology? I looked it up a little and I got opponent process theory is a psychological and neurological model that accounts for a wide range of behaviors, including color vision. This model was first proposed in 1878 by Ewald Hering, a German psychologist, and later expanded by Richard Solomon, a 20th century psychologist. Oh, That doesn't say what it's about. Oh, origin of April Fool's Day. Some historians speculate that April Fool's Day dates back to 1582, when France switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, as called for by the Council of Trent in 1563. In the Julian calendar, as in the Hindu calendar, the new year began with the spring equinox around April 1st. People who were slow to get the news or failed to recognize that the start of the new year had moved to January 1st and continued to celebrate it during the last week of March through April 1st became the butt of jokes and hoaxes and were called April Fools. These pranks included having paper fish placed on their backs and being referred to as poison de abril, April fish. Poison de abril. Said to symbolize a young, easily caught fish and a gullible person. Ah, now we know the rest of the story. I'm watching PBS, WUCN. Where's my channel changer? Let's turn it off. Here we go.
So hi, Will. How's your mama?
Mm.
How's
Oh,
your-
I saw her. When did I see her? Wednesday? I saw her this Wednesday.
Ah, she doing good? She taking care of herself?
Mm. She's she was coloring. They had her coloring a color by number kind of drawing.
Oh, that sounds fun. I love those.
And she looked good. Mm,
That's great.
mm, mm. Uh, how's your dog?
She's good. She's here, still snoring a little bit. But just over here we're just a little busy because it's that time of year, tax season. But otherwise everything is great. Lots going on in our world. And I'm very curious about this topic, opponent process theory in psychology. And what's the purpose of even talking about opponent process theory?
I heard that there's a place in your brain that does the opponent processing, and it's like a seesaw. Mm. And so maybe it's for balancing extremes, or maybe it's for getting used to things. I heard or read that mm, that when you meet something that causes fear for the first time, it becomes less and less as you meet it over time until you get used to it and you don't longer fear it.
Well, I kind of think that that's exactly the process that I've experienced over time when I'm confronted with that same circumstance. It dulls the reaction, dulls in me until I get to a point where I ignore it. And you just don't realize it's there anymore. I think you can recognize this in many ways in our society where we are desensitized. I think that's a way of saying being desensitized to something.
Mm. Ah, what is an example of opponent process theory in psychology? An example of the opponent process theory in normal circumstances is being afraid of something. The opponent process theory states that the more a person experiences the fear, the less the fear will affect them. This decrease in fear may continue to the point where the situation is no longer scary. Ah, says Don. Hmm.
All right, Tyro, can you compare, or can you within the frame of opponent process theory, or is it opposition process theory, your experience with roller coasters?
Oh, it became scarier and scarier. It failed the opponent process.
I don't know.
So, for giving you background, my wife and I took Cairo to Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay twice. And the first time he rode each coaster, and he was amazed that he had done each one of them. And then we took him a second time, and he rode 0 of them.
See, but he says the more he experiences the fear, the less it will scare him. We should go back on each coaster, right?
I think my wife just extended another opportunity for you. We're going to Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay today, by the way.
You are?
Yes.
If your theory is accurate, then you'll go back on each coaster, right?
I'm gonna take my headset off.
Oh, if I'd have gone on a roller coaster that day, then the opponent process theory would have worked to reduce my fear, and then I would continue going to the roller coasters every time, and then it would no longer be scary.
You did. You're awake.
So now my scaredness of the roller coaster has been maintained.
Do you lower the temp in here, Slice?
Oh, no, I like sweat that.
74 last night. That's why you had such a hard time. Sweetie, you're the only one who did any hitting, so you want to say, I'm all done with hitting.
Wait a
So,
minute.
I don't know. You want to test your theory?
How come you guys keep going to the roller coaster?
Because my back hurts.
It's a therapeutic for her. These are more like medical devices for Stacy.
Oh.
So the fear of going on a roller coaster the first time was tremendous, but now you don't have any fear at all.
There's no fear. There never has been.
For her, it's
There's
pure
no
relief.
fear. There's no fear. There isn't an ounce of fear in my body when I jump on each ride.
Well, when she's placed into each.
Well, there's going to be a new ride today, so you can come ride with us together. We've never been on it.
Yeah, so you get to experience
Serengeti
us
Flyers.
Serengeti Flyer. You get to experience it for the first time with us. We don't even know what it's like yet.
We've never been on it.
Oh, you're gonna try a new ride?
Oh, he's saying we.
Yeah.
Well, we is only a truthful statement if you're actually on board with us.
Yeah.
You're gonna try a new ride today?
Yep.
Do you have fear?
Hell no.
Hmm.
And being her caregiver, riding these rides as she goes along, I've been desensitized to the things. So
Oh, do
My
you
biggest
have
fear- My biggest fear in life is Flossy's closed. That's my
do
biggest.
you have high expectations of the
No.
new ride?
No. I've seen it. No.
she's watched the video demo where someone else is filmed while riding.
You're gonna sit in a
Seen
swing and go be.
her
You want to go in a swing today, Hera? You basically sit in a swing.
Oh, I can't. I got a stomach ache.
Oh, right.
Oh, I'm going to yoga class today.
Did the dog eat your
Seven-
We're-
Oh, and at 9:30, I'm going to cherish your center day.
Well, good thing we're not leaving till 10.
yeah, we're going sometime after your yoga class ends.
Any other excuses I can knock down for you?
Ezekiel, is there something I can help you with? Okay.
Well, then be quiet.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know you did, boy.
Good. You want to go give him some attention?
If I have some coffee and some energy to go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got it all set up. I just haven't pressed the button.
Before we do that,
Oh, let's see.
help him. He has more.
What? What is the real meaning of psychology? The scientific study of the mind and behavior. Psychology is the scientific study of the mind and behavior. Psychologists are actively involved in studying and understanding mental processes, brain functions, and behavior. What is the true meaning of fear? An unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by anticipation or awareness of danger. Hmm. Hmm. Mm, 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 mm.
So what are we going to talk about, Dominic? Looks like Hyro's exercising his legs. Let me see your skinny legs again. Thank you. I'm getting ready for yoga.
Hey, wake up.
Okay, I'm getting up. I have 3 more minutes before I have to get out of bed.
Get up.
The explanation.
3 minutes. What are you going to talk about, Dominic?
Topic's already out there. It's a matter of if Hyro or other are going to respond. I guess the question would be, can one fear death?
Can one fear death?
Yeah, I'll even change the word after you guys ponder it. There's another word that actually you can put instead of fear.
I feel like we can. I don't fear it at the moment. But I do believe many of us fear death. It's the fear of the unknown for the most part, from what I understand.
What does that fear look like?
I think it comes across different for everyone. But when you say look at like, you mean an example of someone being afraid of death?
No, phrase different. I'm talking about fear. I'll change the
Yes.
word actually, Don.
Okay.
Can one, because that's what fear really is, can one be ignorant of death?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the one thing that we experience when we're alive is the known. So then why do we spend any energy about the unknown that we can't explain? This is where we theorize. Fear is this ignorance. Can you ignore something? Yes. Now, can you anticipate something? Now that psychology and the meaning of fear does resonate. Can you anticipate? If somebody's actually experienced a roller coaster, can it dispass ignorance or does it confirm what they are concerned about? If people don't enjoy rides, but then they take a chance, now they can truly say from experience that now they have justifications. But how many people have actually talked to a person that's still in the physical body, but no longer here? See, people talk to spiritual beings, but most people fear about leaving the body. They're ignoring the body. So this is why when loved ones pass on, pets move on, we really don't know where they go. So we spend a lot of time in our imagination, which is fine. I do it on a regular basis. That's why we watch movies and all that. I'm exploring imagination, meaning that we appreciate when somebody can reveal to us their creativeness, but we can see that in the known. To me, fear is just, again, the word ignorance, ignore. What can I be ignorant of and what do I ignore? Something I can't put any tangible to it. Somebody will see a body and maybe whatever the essence is, I use the word essence, no longer in that vessel. Where do they go? Don't know. Who were they when they were in there? Don't know. People can fear jumping off of a bridge with a bungee jump. Yeah, they can ignore the fact that whatever they're conjuring up, what happened if the bungee jump cord snaps? What happened if I hit the water? What happened if I hit a rock? What happened if a bird flies by? That's your imagination. But once a person has jumped off of it, they can say, what was I truly ignoring? Now they can actually do something tangible. See, the example I give is I take Don and Jaro with me into a dark cave that they've never seen before. Like, it's dark, guys, really dark. So some people might be fearful, don't know what's there. As we go further down, you see these two big humongous eyes. Well, now you're no longer, for most people, are fearing darkness. You've transferred that fear that never existed to those two big eyes. Then we go a little bit closer. Then you see this big stuffed animal with these big eyes. Now you transferred your ignorance to it. Then it starts talking into a language that we understand. Hey guys, how's it going? You were never fearful. The psychology of that is, think about it. This is called scientific study of the mind and the behavior. You can alter your mind and your behavior. But we always go back to the same source. It's like a path. Most people never take the ungroomed path. They take the groomed path. Well, why don't I take all the other paths? The question is more or less, why do you take the path you always take? And when I say ignore, ignorant in this point, that's the energy that I get from it. Because sometimes a word does not explain it in one word, but in another word it does. Hence why when we use the English language, it's many meanings. Okay, are you trying to say it's cool or my jacket's cool? I have to go energetically say, oh, that person's trying to say I have a very cool jacket. They're not meaning that it's cold outside. How do I know that? Because it resonates with me. I'm watching a lot of things, the body language, the way that's been spoken to me, the way they're, again, it's body language, but now for a lot of people, they'll shoo that off. Well, Dominic, I still fear death. How can you fear the unknown? You can use your imagination.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be that we don't necessarily fear death, but we fear dying? We fear the process.
Now you're talking about suffering.
We fear getting old, getting sick, getting so sick that we're in the hospital and get sent to hospice and we're told that we're dying. Then we're struck with fear. Or maybe we don't accept it. We say, no, I can't be dying. And eventually we give up and accept that we're dying. And then we fear that we're gonna be abandoned. And our family comes by less and less, and we're taken care of by strangers. Just what we feared would happen. Because we've seen that happen to elderly. They get abandoned. And so we are abandoned. And so then the day that we're actually dying, we don't feel our feet any longer. We can't move our toes. It's getting colder and colder, and it's going up our legs. They're numb, and then it goes all the way up, and then we lose consciousness, and we are breathing slower and slower, or maybe we lose our ability to communicate with others, and they've given us morphine to reduce the pain, and we're breathing slower and slower, like maybe one breath every 20 seconds.
General, what happens is what you just explained.
What's going on?
A lot of people, they use their imagination in a sense. It'll be different. They'll see somebody put their hands on the stove, and for most people, they'll think it's their way is going to be different. Death is going to hit all of us. There's an aging process prior to it. Now, for most of us, we're still asleep thinking, oh, well, I'm not gonna, well, you've ignored the whole process. See, a lot of things that you were talking about is future again, where yes, if you had loved ones and they're older, there's an aging process. We all just, a lot of us in a lot of moments think that we can actually beat the system. What we're really doing is ignoring the system. We all have an aging process, but if people don't really understand, you can't control something you can't see. So therefore, what am I really attached to? When people worry about getting older, what they're really saying is they're attached to their youth, because you can't talk about something that has not happened yet unless you're going to be the observer and realize my parents get older, but are you thinking that you're just like them? What do you mean? We're different in a lot of ways, but yet we're similar in other ways. Death has no, well, we're not going to accept you. When people say, well, I'm eventually going to get old, I'm eventually going to die. You could die in a car accident. You could slip and fall down a stair, crack your head against a wall. If we're really going to use our imagination, but it should be one of those things, kind of like when somebody says to me, Dominic, you know, I'm going to pay you, right? I said, that should be a given in this conversation. But that the fact that you just mentioned it, should I be concerned? No different when somebody says, well, you know, Dom, you know, we're all going to die. That's a given. Most people want to be happy, so then talk about what's in the known. If you know that there's a hurricane happening, do something about it. Speculating about it, that's a different story. So now when somebody says, well, I know somebody that's, you know, like your mother, she's 100 years old. Yeah, she's expanded more than the average person. If you look on the fact that the insurance says on the average people live around 70 years. So your mother's over exceeded what the average is. Regardless of the biblical stories that you can live up to 120. Not everybody ever usually fully uses capacity for everything else, but eventually we're going to meet whatever that is. This is why when people say they're scientific, but they're not scientific, because you got to do the hows. How did that work? You know, I can see the result if I put my hands on the stove, or somebody else will, Dominic, I don't think that happened. I said, are you trying to say that I shouldn't have done it? Or are you saying that because if you put your hand on, it's going to be different? More likely it will be different, but the results are going to be very similar to the outside audience that's looking at all of that. There's the psychology of what we do know and the psychology that we don't know. Most people are too busy trying to control something that they have no business at all. Business, think about business. You could speculate if you want to talk about stocks and all that kind of stuff. And then most of us, we talk either about something that hasn't happened or what just has happened. Well, how was your week? Well, it's done.
So I would think that there's also not just the fear of dying or the fear of death, but the fear of life after death, or death after death, or the fear of the unknown after death. Perhaps that fear is greater than dying or death. Perhaps we might be afraid of whether or not we'll have a wonderful life in something called heaven.
Once again, Jarrell, you can only speculate. If a person knew that he was going to die tomorrow and give up his last breath, the question would be, and Jarrell, you've actually even learned a little bit about Buddhism. What would you give up as your attachment? Well, I don't know. I no longer have pain. I said, you're still stuck here. What are you going to give up? What is your attachment? Well, what are you going to say? You're happy? You're still attached. You see, we walk around with many luggages with us. We think the healing process is about all the things that are what we call negative, the unknown. And it could be. But what's for most people, the healing is when you're here, are you going to actually be of the world or in the world? So when a person's about to finally find out you're going to finally give up the last breath, what are you going to give up? What are your attachments? Forget about your imagination. TV does quite well. Your own personal struggles. Everybody has those. What are you really going to give up? What are you holding in your right hand opposed to what you've been trying to resist in your left hand? Well, I think happiness is a good thing. I said, so you just formed another attachment, happiness, and now the word good. How do you perceive those? Because those are moments to moments. So what is fear then? It reinforces everybody to be herded into what they do, what they are attached to, the known. And what are they? Because they resist the things that they don't want to do anymore, opposed to just be in those moments. Enjoy the sweet and sour of life. It's a constant breath. The beat beats in and out. The breath goes in and out. But if you want to experience, go ahead, Jarb.
What is being feared? fear of the unknown,
Mhm.
imagined, speculated, like say fear of going to hell, or fear of taking a reincarnation as an animal, or as a hell being, or as a hungry ghost. Fear of something that is imagined versus fear of unknown. If it's a fear of the unknown, then there's nothing there to fear because it's unknown. Is that what you're
That's exactly what I'm saying, Jaro. It's unknown. But then again, if you've been doing that and you realize there's nothing to fear, then what are your attachments to the known? That's one thing you
then?
can have tangible. And for a lot of people, you know what it is? Control. I got to control my environment. So what are you doing when you're asleep? What do you do when you're on the bus or you're driving the car? Who's running the body? Well, I am. Who's the I that's speaking? Now, I can't say there's an answer to that, but it's a pondery. Now, somebody could say, well, that's unknown too. I said, bingo, now you're the fool. Opposed to the idiot that thinks they know some things. It's out there, Jaro. We leave it in history, written works. There's people that a lot of them are channeling, whether they're aware of it or not. A person going to analyze and say, well, but I'm a writer, I'm a professor. I said, how do you not know you're not channeling? Why? Because humans aren't that smart. If leaving to the demise of humans to create water, lakes, oceans, and all the different forestry and all that kind of stuff, they would never have started. We would still be stumbling. If it wasn't for the process that's already been programmed into us with the sperm and the egg, fucking humans wouldn't even know how to reproduce. Everything else, humans are trying to actually depopulate themselves by saying, well, I'll take this birth control pill, and then wonder why they have later on breast cancer.
There is a fear of the time of death, or we could consider that something to fear in a enlightened way. It is wise to fear the time of death, like when would I be dying? Oh, what if there's a psychic that you can go to and he can tell you more or less when you will die?
There is,
you
Jaro.
go see that person and get that information? Oh, you're gonna die in 1 year.
Mhm.
Or would you rather go on living without knowing that you have 1 year to live?
If you're not going to do nothing about it, if a doctor voluntarily shares or a specialist shares without the person asking that you have cancer and you're going to die in 6 months, he's a fucking total idiot. You've just put a program into that person's thing. Now, if they ask, it's like going to a psychic. But the question would be now, do you have discernment as a psychic? That person's already been living unhealthy. Why would it make any difference? Well, you need a label for it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a bullshit story. You're not going to die from cancer. This is how it plays in psychology. There's people that have done study, people have done surgery on women and men to do plastic surgery on all of them. And the person says, well, I still feel the way I am. I said, I can't do surgery on that. Most people think it's just the physical. So in that particular case, Jaro, there's people that say it on a regular basis. But if we're really going to talk about harming the vessel, the question would be, why would I join the military? Why would I drive a car? I'd rather take a chance being in a plane. Why? Because at least the guys that fly the planes, they're high tech. I'd rather be in a car with a guy that actually drives a Ferrari, because they have to be really good at their craft to be able to drive a car that's worth more than any of our parts are worth. But yet we think that we're soldier operators. It's like when we read a book, how many people are actually behind those books, opposed to the one person that's operating it by reading and flipping the pages? But then they think, well, I know a lot. I said, not really. It would have to be a group of yes. So on that particular case, the fortune teller They can tell you whatever you want. It's a placebo at that point. Or it's literally, it's going to prove whether or not you can manifest things with your thoughts. They've done studies, Jarrell, where a couple of them is women were thinking, I'm taking all these pills, but it's not working. Eventually, some people have enough balls to say, do you really want to live or die? Well, I really don't want to live. I said, then stop taking the pills. Woman died after 2 months because that was her will wanted. Confusing the will is way more pathetic than the free will concept that people use. So what are we fearing? Nothing. So then what are we attached to? What are we attached to? You say the word happiness. You're just being honest with the whole ideal of the American way of living. Land of the free, which is not free, and pursuit of happiness, which is almost impossible when you don't realize you're going to have some sour parts if you're going to be happy too. It's like somebody asking me, well, what do I look like in this dress? Well, that's a trick question. What do you mean? Because I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. How do you feel about being in that dress? I feel good about it. I said, then why you ask me the question? You're looking for some congregation now? Now, I know I'm not going to say that to every situation, but a lot of times if I pick up the energy, I said, I know it's a trick question. It's like when somebody says to me, Dominic, I'm going to pay you. Really? You said that out loud?
There's this guy that wrote a book
Mhm.
called something like the 1 year that the 1 year of living or something like that, where he pretended with his wife that he had 1 year to live, and so he programmed everything around himself to try to imagine that he had 1 year to live and what he would do for that 1 year, and he played it out as a game and make believe that he had 1 year to live. So he had to prepare himself that it would be 1 year left, and he wrote a book about it. I guess he wanted to prepare himself for dying, or maybe he wanted to see if that would make his life more meaningful, or he would maybe have more urgency to try to get the things that he wanted done, maybe live more fulfilling. And so he had 1 year left to live, and he played it out and then wrote a book about it. and then after that 1 year, I guess he continued living his life, but then he got cancer and then he died.
Because you put that out there, Jarrell. It's like when you hear stories about if you're on your deathbed and if you had a chance to live longer, what would you do? Most people, fairy tale-ish, would say, I would enjoy life. I would enjoy spring and all that. I said, no. What have you been living like prior to you getting sick? Well, I was always working. I was worrying about the economy and all that. I said, so then why are you lying now? Because it's fairy tale, Jarrell. Now, the person that actually went out and said, I'm going to write a book on it, what's his fairy tale? Because once you put it publicly, people are going to have to say, okay, what's the house? Because people do want to understand scientifically. What were you trying to do? What's the psychology behind all of that too? Why would you go out? There's a philosophy now. Why would you go out and say, I'm going to put an urgency of 1 year out there? There's people that live day by day thinking, I don't even have my ends meeting together, but never questioning, what is my lifestyle? Was I born into poverty? Was I born in a certain gender or skin that other people are never going to understand? And even the people that are the same gender and the same color skin, they're still not going to truly understand me. Well, I'm going to get comfort knowing that we look alike, or we're the Christians. It's an individual journey. You have moments you can share with other people, yes. So everybody's going to have, more times than not, I'm guessing when I'm saying this, a different experience if they put out there, I have 1 year to live. So therefore, everybody else is going to think the same as me. But that's like the doctor saying, I'm going to tell everybody that comes into my office, you got 10 days till, you got a year to live. That goes back to people prophesizing. Well, I'm a religious guy and it's doomsday and the world's going to come to an end, which is a true statement. Everybody's world comes to an end. But the world itself exists with or without you. But each person has their own world and their perception of the outside world. But if enough people say that, or some people say that, and sell all your worldly possession, happens to be to me, because it's going to be doomsday. And if the person fulfills it, it's a prophecy. If I'm going to tell you guys we're all going to meet at my house next Friday and we're going to have chips, you said, Dominic, how do you know that? I'm living in Florida. Next, meanwhile, you guys don't realize I'm pretty rich. I sent a jet down there for you guys to come and visit me. We're going to have chips. Did I just prophesy something or did I make it happen? That's what prophecy is.
Rami, you're back.
Indeed.
What? But wouldn't it make your life more fulfilling if you pretended that you had 1 year to live, and
Indeed.
from this April 1st to the next April 1st, and you play it out, and you, oh my gosh, I gotta sell my stuff and this, and then the next April 1st, and said, oh, April Fools, I'm not gonna die, yay, and then, but then you get hit by a car the next day, and you die.
Right. Well, it's a classic idea to live each day as though it's going to be your last. That way you live it to the fullest. But keep in mind, I mean, that could include taking a nap.
And I was thinking that the people who believe that the world was coming to an end when whoever it was that wrote the Revelations, kind of predicting that this and that would happen.
Well,
Maybe he was thinking 30 years ahead that this and that was going to happen, but it didn't happen. But then the people that kept that book in the Bible, they kept thinking that way, so they would live like the end of the world was going to come. And so every time, and it didn't happen, they set a date and it didn't happen. But they've been doing this. That's called that phenomena or idea. They call it millennialism or something like that. It's been happening.
Well, remember, especially when it comes to the early centuries, the world did come to an end, or at least their civilizations did fall.
Oh, yeah. Like the Roman Empire came to an end, in this empire and that empire, and things would come to an end. And maybe it's like fires, like fires in that after the fire out in nature, then things can grow, like because the woods were keeping things from growing. Then when you burn down the woods, then you can have grass grow and other kinds of life form come out, and then eventually it becomes forest again. So maybe that needs to be
So-
happen with humans too.
The Shiva sort of idea of rebirth, or construction with the possibility of rebirth. So I'm going to be in opposition for you, Hyro. I'm going to suggest that everything you've ever learned about reincarnation has kept you from maturing.
Yes.
If you live this life as though it's the only life you've got, then your incentive would be to become more fully whoever it is you are to be. You wouldn't be stuck in that eternal cycle sort of thing that keeps you sort of. It's okay to be childlike, but to not mature is kind of a tragedy.
Mhm. So
Green bear.
if I live life like this is the last life,
bear. Green bear.
then I would take advantage of this life
Well,
better.
got to be careful there. Because I don't necessarily know or think that it's about you or that it's about taking advantage. How do I put this? So Jesus' statement was, "Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven." If you put that first and foremost, then you've got a target. You've got an objective. It's not that, oh well, I'll just be reincarnated in next life, so I don't really have to grow up.
Is the kingdom of heaven in this life or in the next life? Is that after death, or could it be in both?
What's
Both in
the
this life and in the next?
right? What is that line out of the Lord's Prayer? On earth as it is in heaven.
Hmm. On earth as it is in heaven.
But you know, our time here is once we've oriented.
Any
For
other
my
questions?
wife, who experiences pain on a moment by moment basis,
Every day.
yeah, it can't end soon enough. Can't
I
really
hope
see
that
because
we
there's sun
can
shining through the window.
Unless I'm a big redhead with legs at
Does,
work.
does the wife employ
No, she
Well,
don't want.
opponent process theory to reduce her pain by getting used to the pain?
Hey, hubby,
Oh, she doesn't have a choice.
show them the.
But I mean, it can really affect
show them my reasons.
your person.
Show them my reasons.
I think it was sort of a brilliant thing that um, Shakespeare, when he wrote like King Richard III, that
Show them what.
the character was deformed because it made that character who's just this evil sort of bastard character, but he you can tell because he's got this sort of lurch, he's hunched over, so he's also sympathetic at the same time. You can understand that what he's responding to or the way that he is at least in
Show
some
them
part
what
the
you
result
want.
of his. You want me to show him your dogs?
That one is why I wake up in the morning.
Oh, yeah. She's saying that our kids help her continue to get up each morning.
That and coffee.
That and coffee. What's the tattoo that your friend Pearl has?
Jesus and coffee.
Okay.
She has it right here.
Where is it?
She
Jesus
has
and
it right
coffee.
on her back.
Okay. And that coffee and that coffee thing, that's important. Why?
Otherwise, I would be angry and asleep.
Angry and asleep as opposed to angry and awake?
How's your foot taste?
Okay.
Hope you washed it. It's going to be 88 today in Tampa with 0 chance of rain.
Okay.
What was it about? Was it King Henry or King Richard?
I think Richard III. Yeah. That's yeah, one of Shakespeare's plays. He was deformed. Had like a bent spine, and he's kind of a conniving character in the play, but at the same time, you can tell he's a guy who sort of battles with pain and ostracism due to his deformity. I think what happened actually in his case in history is they fell off a horse and lived, but was horribly sort of had that condition then for the rest of his life.
Hmm.
And yeah, it doesn't have to be physical either. We had a whole American Revolution because of King George III, who if you watch, there's a movie, The Madness of King George. The idea is that he went mentally ill, and Parliament stepped in and started ruling the government in ways that the American colonialists didn't like. But because George III was the sovereign when the founders came together and drafted and signed the Declaration of Independence, it's addressed to him with all these different complaints, but he wasn't really in a position to handle any of that because of the situation. There's a wonderful film, The Madness of King George, that I recommend catching if you've never watched. That kind of details how he goes mad for multiple years and then he regains his sanity. It's like, what's changed? Well, we lost the Americas. He's like, okay, moving on.
Wow. Just think, if he had been more alert and fully aware of what was going on, he would have prevented the independence of the United States or colonies of America.
Well, we don't know, and we can't. Another important thing to understand is that we can't always control these events, these occurrences, right? I mean,
I heard my
medical science, for instance, wasn't sufficient enough at the time to be able to help him recover in any way or amount of time that was sooner than the amount of time that took during late 18th century. So why are you doing that?
I heard my hand.
You want some attention?
I'm all doing handy.
That's good. What do you think, Ezekiel? I'm going to take my headphones off. There you go.
So that was the from my hue. Had the dog and the
The dog's got a haircut this week. This is what usually looks like an Ewok, but shaved.
Mm. got his whole body hair cut.
Yeah. I
There
had
we-
mine a week before.
Hey. He wants me. How about you? Tell him off.
So yeah, Siki first. I mean,
Tell him off.
I already did.
You guys tell him off some more things extra.
If your orientation is heaven,
Beautiful.
then you've got this objective, or at least
Mine better be because I
an end. But if you don't have an end, if you don't have a project, for instance,
And by the way, hell doesn't exist because we're already here.
right? There are plenty of people living hell right now, this very moment.
Hell can't be worse. This is hell.
Well, things could always get worse.
No, hell would be the culmination of all my panic attacks happening at once. That's what hell's gonna be for me if I end up there.
As opposed to only a sufficient amount of them.
Only sometimes and slightly. They're gonna be all at once at the same time. That's gonna be hell.
I heard my
So heaven could be peace of mind, and
No.
hell could be earth. No.
No. Peace of mind. I will never have peace of mind. I have peace of soul, a peace of mind. Because people are special, which is why I will never have peace of mind.
I was in karaoke last night, and I saw an old guy with a t-shirt that said,
Danny.
I stopped drinking for good. Now I drink for evil.
That was the for
Mhm.
you. Had
I actually don't drink that much. My biggest addiction is a cup in the morning.
And the dog.
And she's quit that for weeks on end just to prove that she can.
But I choose not to.
So it's like that line, if you've ever seen the movie Coffee and Cigarettes,
Dog.
which is I think it was a Jim Jarmusch film with the whole number of vignettes that were filmed for over a decade. One of the vignettes is a diner conversation between Tom Waits and Iggy Pop, and Waits offers Iggy a cigarette,
Dog.
and Iggy's like, "Oh no!" I mean, his partner's whoever, the woman that he lives with, says those things are banned, and he's not allowed to have any. And Waits says, you know, the best part about smoking, but the best part about quitting, is you can always take them back up again.
I hurt my finger. I hurt my finger.
So would a
What?
belief in reincarnation
Dog. And
cause more deaths because you quit expecting that you'll come back again? I guess the example would be in the Vietnam War. There was these Buddhist monks that protested and burned themselves alive. They sat down and had someone throw they were drenched in gasoline probably, and then somebody threw a match, like, or I imagine, and burned himself alive. Immolation.
Well, going back even further, consider that if you introduce the idea that that you have multiple lives into a society that has a caste system, you know, I'm of the lowest caste, or I'm not at the caste that I want to be at. That's my fate, so I might as well accept it. Oh well, better luck in the next life. I'll just try to be better to work for in order to be in a higher or a better state of being next time around. That's very useful. That's very useful for maintaining that system, is it not? Because it takes the air or the urgency out of the people for forever, like working for something better.
It
during
prevents
the lifetime.
upward mobility,
Uprising. Prevents uprising.
uprising.
and the dog.
Oh, from the untouchables, they're called Dalits, and a lot of them are converting from Hinduism to Buddhism, because there's this Hindu that became Buddhist and preached to them, and so a lot of them took refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha. Like when you do that, you're suddenly Buddhist. But then, what about a person that believes after death, that's it? Like it's non-existent. Would that person, or maybe like an atheist, would that person have a higher tendency of committing suicide if they were desperate, or would that make them more easily pushed to that decision versus someone that believed in a possibility of heaven or hell? Like if they believe in that, if they commit suicide, then they will go to hell. I guess maybe, is that a belief if in some that would keep them from committing suicide?
But you don't.
Okay, let's hear. Stacy's got an opinion on this.
If you commit suicide, number one, you're a pussy. You got out of life early.
Okay.
Number two, it depends on what God thinks of you. He's going to put you at his feet and give you another chance in this life and send you back.
Oh, so you
Or
include
He's going
an
to send
opportunity
you
for
to hell.
reincarnation in your system.
But he does that with the mentally ill. They kill themselves.
It's interesting. I was reading the Charter of Privileges of Pennsylvania, 1701 document, and suicide's actually included as what to do after the fact in terms of how you distribute the property of someone who's destroyed themselves, right there in their founding document.
In 1701, the
Yep.
founding document of what country?
Pennsylvania.
Oh, the state of Pennsylvania. So if you're in a situation that's really desperate, then you're allowed to commit suicide. Like if you in the neighborhood of my mother in Heathrow, that we heard that there was this house that had a family, and the breadwinner had went into bad luck, and so he killed his wife, his kids, and himself to end the difficulties he had. I guess maybe he had lost his job or something, or he did badly in an investment or something like that. He felt hopeless, and so he ended it all. Hmm. 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 You were fine, Dom. I was enjoying listening while taking the dog out and getting her settled. Don, you might enjoy this. It is a few fellow beings sharing about energy. Rami to everyone, ushistory.org. Charter. Check out the link. Ooh. Ooh. Unlock your third eye. So if where am I? Get back into Zoom.
It's possible you're thinking of sharing screen while playing Don's video.
Unlocking the third eye. The third eye is some say it's the pineal gland. So what happens if you activate the pineal gland? What is the pineal gland for, medically or biologically? There's some other glands in the brain. There's the hippocampus. No, is the amygdala in there? No. Anyway. Oh. So yes, I called Luis Del Pino the other day and he didn't answer, but then he called back because I had left messages about some question, but he didn't catch it. So he asked me, what was the question? And I said, I don't remember, but here's a good question. What is the most important question to ask? And he thought, and he said, how many realities are there? And I said, infinite. And he said, no, there's only one reality. But then I looked it up. I Googled it, and there's 3 realities. Or 4. I think one of them is the reality that we have in common with everyone, in our internal reality, and maybe our imagined reality. I don't know. and some
Would
other
those be classifications of reality?
maybe. And then I asked him, what should the topic be for this Saturday morning? And he came up with this idea of, oh, opponent, mm, opponent, what is it? Opponent process theory. Yes. So I looked it up a little bit, and he mentioned something that in somewhere in our brain, there's a center where opponent process theory is happening, and it's like a seesaw, and maybe there's a balancing going on. So maybe we could consider what is balance? How do we attain homeostasis? Maybe that's the word. Yeah, that sounds like the technical word for balance, maybe. What is homeostasis? It sounds like very chemical, biological. Just look it up in this other phone. Hmm, hmm. I just unlocked it, but it hasn't stabilized. Oh, it's off balance. Oh, wait. Oh, when I hit Google, it opens up Google. Home, me, oh, space. Definition. That homeostasis, the tendency towards a relatively stable equilibrium between interdependent elements, especially as maintained by psychological processes. Maybe homeostasis. Maybe there's a place in the brain that does the homeostasis using opponent process theory. What do you think? What have you gathered so far, Don?
There's been a lot that's been spoken about. So I don't feel like I have anything to add. I'm just accepting all the information.
Do you have anything to subtract?
Good question. Let's see. I don't think I have anything to subtract. It's all information. But I see Don put the original question again. I don't know why.
Maybe I could copy it and paste it in Google. I can't seem to copy what's in the chat.
I know. I was wondering, I think it's a Zoom restriction. But yes, but as regarding the topic or the opponent process theory in psychology, I said in the beginning that I felt like it was the process that we all seem to go through, which is desensitization. I believe it's a process that's built in all of us, but some of us, because we like to control ourselves and our environment to a point, we sometimes don't allow ourselves to experience things that bring us fear or bring us a certain kind of energy that we don't like, that feeling of that energy. So we don't experience those things. We don't overcome those things because of the fear itself or the resistance to what is.
Do you have any fears that you're trying to overcome? And what is your strategy for overcoming them?
I do have some fears. I have some fears. I don't even know why they're there, that I've been actually becoming more and more aware of. And I have no strategy for overcoming them, because the reality is that, and from my view, that all we need is awareness of something. If something is processing through us, it will display itself in many different ways. So I believe that this fear is here as an indication for me to be aware that there's something for me to pay attention to. And when I pay attention to it, I can find its source, which is what's happening in me. I'll tell you what I have a fear of. For most of you, you know that I grew up in Hawaii for most of my life. And so I love the outdoors, the beach, the air, everything is all about Hawaii for me. And I've lived in other places, but I find myself here in Florida afraid. I find a fear of outside. I
No,
haven't yet dug into the pit of it. Some have suggested maybe it has to do with that I'm in a different environment. It's not Hawaii, but I don't find that rings true. It doesn't feel true for me, because I've been to other places after I lived in Hawaii. There's something else, and it has to do with the elements outside, bugs and
the,
stuff like that.
uh,
Like I'm
the
afraid to walk on
humidity. Could it be the humidity? Is it more humid here than in Hawaii? Maybe.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's strictly to do with the elements outside. I have some kind of a fear of bugs and the grass and stuff like that. I don't know what it's born out of, but I'm aware of it. And when I'm feeling that sensation and I become aware of it, I can make a different choice, as opposed to, maybe staying inside all day. I can go outside. I can make small steps. But what I find myself becoming angry with is other people. And I've had to learn that everybody has their own opinion. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It's just about what's right for you. But
Yeah.
everybody seems to have this opinion that, oh, you need to get out, you need to go to the beach, you need to do this, and this is going to fix these things. It's not everyone, but a lot of people have the opinion. I think that we need to give each other space to work through what we are working through in our own way and in our own time. What solution may work for another may not necessarily work the same for someone else. So I, even just overnight, this same topic came up for me to meditate on overnight. And I saw clearly that, others are trying to help and give their advice, but still I can stay focused on my own process. And I can see that process inside of me that's back and forth, almost like a little bit of a tug of war of fear is what it is.
So does anyone disagree with the idea that fear is the killer?
Dogs have a fear.
Or at least it's the thing that kind of keeps people static?
And what are you doing?
It's a killer of what?
Joy.
Of joy. Well, I don't know if you can kill joy, but it can kill love.
Man,
You think you can kill joy?
guarantee you.
Yeah.
You put me somewhere where I have joy and put a blue in front of me, I guarantee I'll be gonna be enjoyable.
I don't think that fear is the cause of or is the killer. I think it is our reaction to fear that is the killer. It's our choices.
Mhm.
Mm. Mm. Oui.
I have 2 counselors with the fear. For about 2 years, thank you. Hi, honey. Yes, you're going to the playground today, bud.
I guess I'm taking this morning before we go to Tampa. Oh, he's gonna go with the Hiram.
Mm. Mm.
They're not going anywhere but straight to.
Yes, Dom. I do think having a little bit of aloha in my day will make a difference. So I just might open up a little food stand or something here because I spread a lot of aloha with my food as well. So who knows? Maybe when I'm done playing with numbers, I'll go back to having a little cafe. We'll see.
Oh, I know the solution. Let's see. Where is it? Share photo, maybe? Uh, I know. I'll take a picture of, where is, hmm? I'll have to take a screenshot and edit it. And then, yeah, I'm going mm, well, I'm going to crop it and then share it. A, a picture that will solve your fear. Yeah.
Is it Jason Momoa?
Mm.
Are you bringing a picture of Jason Momoa to dispel my fear?
Mm.
It might help, just saying.
See. Oh, can you see it?
Well, unfortunately, my pictures at this will be right now.
Try this. Share.
Oh. He booted himself and said, I'm the host. I don't know how to host. Now, why did he do that? Can he make himself the host again when he comes back? Oh, there he is. It is Jason Momoa. I knew it. I had a feeling you were going to do that. He's a hottie, but he's just eye candy. It doesn't do anything for me.
I popped up the share screen. Yeah, he'll probably regain host.
Oh, you did that, Rami.
It could have been user error or it could have been network connectivity. Let's find out. Oh, we'll see.
Poor thing, he's bouncing. I think that there's something inside of me that needs to be addressed, and that once I have looked at it and addressed that issue, I'll be able to allow this fear to dispel. I also believe that there's some healing that I need inside, and so instead of me focusing on outside solutions, I'm actually spending more time addressing inside.
Oh,
I stubbed my toe.
can you see that?
Oh, it's beautiful. That's definitely healing just to look at it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Hawaii.
Yes. You can tell from the Ko'olau Mountains in the back. Thank you. That's very beautiful.
There, your fear has been by bringing Hawaii to Florida. How maybe you could paint your room green like I'm doing. I'm painting everything green, even the TVs, making it a green room. Then I could maybe put Hawaii in my room.
You
Well,
can.
maybe in a picture or in a video, I could swap out the green and put Hawaii in it.
I think you can. I'll bring the Hawaiian food. We'll find some dancers. Oh no, Dominic can bring his hula hoop.
I just want to see Dominic in grass skirt.
Yes, and I'll bring the coconut bra for you, Dom.
Yeah. Hula.
Weed skirt. Close enough. Everyone in the audience would be high. Interesting. Well, I am going to be going to meet a client for breakfast.
Mm,
So I'm gonna go, guys. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you next weekend.
thank you, Don.
I will enjoy, Dom. And have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye. Mm. Mm. So, what have we learned so far? Mm. What is the opponent process theory in psychology? Mm.
When the idea was introduced, I
Your playground
kept
is
thinking of
coming.
the parallels between it and
Your playground is
the
coming.
Hegelian dialectic.
Die is two, and lectic is lecture, no, reading. And Hegelian is from Hegel. So it has to do with two aspects, two views, maybe, or two states.
Let's say you want to steer a country, you could set up two sides, let's say a red team and blue team,
We can send.
which have sort of semi-opposite meanings depending on what side of the U.S. Canada border you're on. And you want to steer policy, so you have these two sides going back and forth at each other, and you try to get as many of the citizenry caught up in the interests of these two sides. In the meantime, you've got your own end in mind. You have the leaders of the various sides interject until you what is it, opposition, developing new synthesis eventually on each side to arrive at the desired endpoint of synthesis.
Mm. So you have two sides and they're battling, and you're influencing the two sides to bring the two to one conclusion that you want.
Right.
That'll never work.
How do you know it hasn't been working for hundreds of years?
Oh, it's in place already. And is it happening now? And who is the manipulator of this Hegelian dialectic process, opponent process?
Well, I don't want to make it personal, but I'll use that I'll borrow from the Hebraic the Hebraic idea of the term. By simply
blaming Satan, which isn't a very Hebrew thing to do, but Satan and the idea of the opponent. In other words, like there is a single enemy to humanity in general.
Crown.
And it's remember earlier when I mentioned this, gotta have a project. There's another aspect to that. That project, for it to be successful, can't be your own. Because that's
Don't take it. Don't.
okay. I
don't.
gotta step away for a moment.
Mm. So, see, weed skirt. Laugh out loud. Enjoy that. Again, I wrote, did you learn about what is opponent process theory in psychology? Did I learn all about it? I learned a little bit, and what Rami pointed out or hinted at, or what came to his mind is that perhaps there's a as above, so below. So if we in our brain have some things going on that employ opponent theory process to get to some result, then as above would be in the governing of a nation where you have two teams and they go back and forth, and you have someone or something kind of making sure that the back and forth is resolving to a goal. Perhaps. Oh,
Well, Gerald, yeah, as above, so below could also imply as in heaven, so as in earth.
no. As above, so below, meaning and usage is an ancient quote to describe the idea that what happens in a higher realm or plane of existence also happens in a lower realm. It comes from an ancient piece of writing called the Emerald Tablet. When Christians use the phrase as above, so below, it often means almost as a wish. They want things on earth to be like what happens in heaven. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Oh, I think it's also in the Hermetic philosophy, Trismegistus or something like that. Mentions it.
I guess, Gyro, when people talk about revelation as a new earth and a new heaven, the ruler of this realm sees the human race as its opponent, not the other way around. Humans see the Satan as their opponent, because there is a ruler here, regardless of how we want to interpret them. Hence why in Revelation, whoever wrote it, the ideal that there is going to be a new heaven and a new earth. Job, the story of Job kind of confirms it, because whoever Satan was, basically, was able to bring down the weather and military. But again, that's just a story, and people could utilize it to make observation and say, who does rule here? I'm talking about rulers, I'm not talking about owners. So, but again, it's each individual perception, how they want to perceive the story. But, I take into account that whatever Genesis and Revelation talks about, we got to also look at how has it been happening for our race as humans. I take with a grain of salt what history is written about us, but I can still observe today. Now, if you don't want to go into your question, Jaro, you could talk about the other thing that you posted with me anyway. How do the Americans feel about a digital system finally coming upon them now? Like a lot of other nations have already gone through it. Especially when they started implementing what they're planning on doing is having an expiry date on most digital currency. So, which could be a new time.
It's kind of good.
Mhm.
People from saving. So instead of encouraging people to save, they would want to encourage people to spend and spend. Then that keeps the economy moving. Because what you earn, it expires in a year or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, they'll have different things. They might even have different tiers of digital, where you do a work, say as a tradesperson, they might give you an expansion of how long you can spend that. And if you use that money to pay your mortgage or your rent, that might have a different expansion to it. And then they're going to put a credit system to it, which is fine. We've been doing it already now, where people that get, say, air mileage points, and then if you don't use it after a certain period of time, some of them depleted them, or they just said there has an expiry date on it. It's just another time, it's like when the currency first came in.
I'm going on record saying that it's not fine.
Well, it's never fine, Rami, for everybody involved, but for the people that are probably orchestrating it and the people that benefit from it, it probably will be business as usual. And some people might interpret the word fine. For other people like us, it'll probably be a struggle.
Tyranny is expensive. The trouble with concentrated wealth is that fewer minds get to have a role in the play with it. So what tends to occur is that the economic pie shrinks. And just as, and this again to the folks who are manipulating the system or installing the next level, could be the CBDCs, this sort of enslavement system. I'm sure it looks like a wonderful thing because just as they did with the yen, where they kept Japan in a state of decreasing population and decreasing economic growth, that was considered a good thing to the controllers because it kept Japan from dominating, and it kept the interests who were able to siphon off the energy of others in control.
Always true. Valid points. It's just, once again, we're talking from a very on this side of the fence,
right?
Where for them, because even with the Federal Reserve notes, whoever creates it spends a lot of time printing it, digifying it. Having all the numeric system. Same with slavery. Slavery for the elites was a cumbersome thing, because then people complain about we got to feed them and all that. So we voluntarily have gone out and bought this technology, whether it's a laptop, computer, an iPhone, or a phone in general. So we've digified all the stuff around us. So therefore, we've put it in place for them to activate all that. Hence why it's a 10-year reset. We're in year 3, They've been doing this throughout the world. Most of the big corporations have moved from one country to another country. They're probably going to move their military from one country to another country. We as the masses, with all this technology, Rami, maybe yourself, Jaro, and a bunch of people, could be in the millions, have chosen to be aware. But the rest of the people, it's business as usual, whether they're asleep or not. From the outside, for most people, it'll look like nothing's changed, but we're constantly the frog in the water. And whether they turn the heat up or bring it down, we'll play with it. They divide us with nations. They divide us with our religions. They think it's some sort of ploy that Russia and China are doing whatever they're doing. No different the empire. Like I heard you say earlier, how does a country like Canada, which is probably equivalent to two states in America have an equal say. No, it's the empire. And the empire, whether it's in America, Britain, Rome, if it moves to Dubai, it moves to China, it's the same old for them. And we we take whatever we get.
Rami,
Yes.
are you looking for a wonderful refrigerator?
Side by side, huh? Well, if it's on the curb, there's probably something wrong with it.
Maybe just needs a little cleaning.
Hmm.
Yeah. A lot of cleaning. It's got food inside. Or some. Ugh. Ugh. Smells bad. Yes.
I said earlier that Empire is expensive. It's most expensive in terms of opportunity loss.
Oh.
No.
Very true, Rami. Very true.
What do you mean by opportunity lost?
Well, consider your own family, Jairo. I mean, they're members of your family. You own a business and or businesses, and through that business or those businesses, they've been able to move up the economic ladder and enjoy the benefits of their own work. Under this new system, you have all the work, but all the benefits go to this concentrated set who if you say the wrong thing or step out of line, they can remove all the benefits from you. Just turn off your access to the money that you earn. It's all theirs, period.
Mhm.
All they have is an incentive system to try to get whatever amount of labor or energy extracted out of the human population that they desire.
Mhm. True.
Mm.
Well, we are, and maybe in their lingo, we're cattle to them. And on top of that, we have an expiry date. So if, the ones that are elites, whoever they may be, they have billion-dollar boats. They get us, maybe not me per se, but people that are in certain crafts to build it, and then they don't no longer need them. So
Mm.
it's like a lot of people when they own their own business, they want to get it to a certain point that it self-runs itself, or I make enough money from it, then I no longer have to be in that industry. So in a way, we're all striving, maybe not extreme as other people, to be like the elites. So for them, with AI coming into place, they're going to reduce a lot of things. They're going to probably get rid of the brick and mortar of banking. They'll probably even get rid of the accounting system. They'll get rid of lawyers. They'll just have everything AI. Now, the question would be, would they need 7 billion people? Probably not. They've been doing that for a long time of depopulating, or at least maintaining the population below what it could be. That's only because most of us don't want to be farmers or hunters anymore.
Yesterday,
Mhm.
or a few days ago, a computer went bad, and I thought it was the power supply because nothing would turn on. I didn't troubleshoot, so I ordered it. No, I looked at Best Buy and I chose to buy it on Amazon.
Mhm.
And I chose to pick it up at a Wawa in an Amazon locker. And you go up to it and your phone, you get on Bluetooth and the door opens when you get near it. And I picked up the power supply. And then I went to buy something at Wawa. And I didn't have my wallet with my debit cards. I hardly carry cash anymore. So when the homeless people come to ask for money, I don't have any money to give them. And I didn't have my wallet at Wawa. So I used my phone and I used a wallet to pay for my food. Hmm. So less and less, I hardly ever see money anymore. Oh, I hardly ever see pencils either. Also, I'm on the phone writing with my fingers. I've forgotten how to write with my cursive writing. Or, no, actually, I do, but it's getting worse. I can't read my own writing anymore. Hmm.
I guess, Cheryl, it's like when there's policies that are made in most countries, people just make the assumption it's the governments that are making it. No, it's the rich families pay a lot of people to make those policies. It's just the government's roles to pass those policies or budgets when it comes to finance. And, you know, will there be the mark of the beast? Probably. Then there's a good chance the cell phone is just one step along the way where we're going to get implanted chips. So when you are homeless and you want to give somebody some sort of credit system, you could just tap your wrist with their wrists. The next thing you know, they've got they got money that they can endorse for buying a coffee. You know, it's a system that we're ever being conditioned into it. The ones that become aware of it, it'll be like we're being very aware, but we're in the crazy house. So do we take our pills so we can act like everybody else, or do we have to not take the pills and say, okay, well, something else is going to intervene? How do we not know that there's this ultimate source entity that says, I just don't interfere with humanity? For the longest of time, you guys want us to interfere, but when we do interfere, we can't make everybody happy. So we're going to be unconditional. Whoever wants to rule this time, you can rule. You know, it's a tough one, because we would almost have to gather all the parts and say, okay, so how can we have a humanity work together if we have communism, democracy, we have different types of religions, you know, and of course, encompassing in all of that is commerce.
We're being conditioned.
Yep, I think so. That's my view on it.
That's they're using our internal. They know our psychology, because they know our opponent processing. So they know that we'll get used to whatever they give us, as long as they feed it to us gradually.
Gerald, they don't have to do it individually. They understand the psychology of group mentality. That's why they have religions and state and science. They understand that. And a person that can observe it from within it, I can't say I see beyond it. I can see from within it. So if you get enough people doing certain things like wearing a mask, a lot of people are going to do it just because they want to fit in. Now, some people will say, I don't agree with it. I said, but you're trying to conflict yourself now. Why? Because there's a whole bunch of people that own stores. So how are you not going to not wear a mask by going into their store? See, this is where the ego thinks they're individual. It's like when people say there's 144,000 people are going to be saved. So what about the billions that are actually Christians or Muslims, even though they don't write in the Quran about the 144,000? So are we going to say that those people don't get in? It feeds on the ego.
Well,
and the ego, go ahead.
The actual scripture reference starts with the 144, and then it adds, and then there's the multitude comes after. So it's not limited to that. You gotta play a sin of omission to make that sort of hard limit, because that hard limit's not there in the actual work of Revelation.
Sure, but 144 or 144 means 9. There's a reason why the number 9's in it, let alone 1 and 4 and 4.
I think it comes from the idea of 12,000 out of each of the 12 tribes.
Sure, and 10 of them were scattered. 2 of them, Judah and Benjamin, only existed because the prophet that was talking for the Lord basically said, because you want to be like the other nations, I'll give you kings among them. That's why when I talked to a Jew, I said, okay, you coexisted with Israel. Are you from the tribe of Judah or Benjamin? Because Benjamins were left-handed. Well, I said, no, that whole thing going on in what they call Israel is a mockery. So now, whether or not people value that, the question would be for most people, who do you think rules this realm? And then if people realize there is an entity that rules this realm, are we being obedient to it or disobedient to it?
Well, I mean,
That's just my view. That's just my view.
yeah, I mean, we could go back to Job and talk about the conversation that occurs in that first chapter between God and Satan. But I think ultimately you have to think of Satan as a servant.
Well, the thing is,
Whether that
Satan,
servant is obedient to God or like the angels that are not fallen, or Satan is that angel, the light bringer. If he's if Lucifer is the this character who went off to make his own project and stand in the place of God.
Rami, if I can share something. When Adam did what he did, he became the Lord. So when you read Job, Satan went to talk to the Lord.
I got to
He
take
never-
my wife off the toilet.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Ciao. So anyway, that's another story. Jaro, put that aside. So it come down to, you had asked a question, or you said you were going to talk about a topic, and you had said you don't know much about it, or hopefully you learned something about it. What is the opponent process theory in psychology? It's the theory. We're going to theorize about it. And what is its opponent? So that would imply then, what is the psychology that most people live with now, and what would be its opponent? Most people's psychology is to live for happiness. Now, what is its opponent? Fear. What is fear? And then you can break that down to each individual person. Some people can gravitate by maybe this, because we live in a system now where you can quickly type things and get some rough idea. You still got to go inwards. The program could be, whatever I read must be true. I said, no, whatever you read is a starting point. Because not all information is taken just with the senses, with your eyes or your ears. You could also take it with intuitive. So that's why you have to always double check things. So in this particular case, what is the behavior? Mentally, and the behavior. Because mentally, a person will say, okay, I want to be happy, I want to be well off, I want to be healthy. And then, but what's its opponent? Well, I eat at fast food places. I don't sleep correctly. I said, okay, so is that your ignorance? What do you mean? Are you, because, if I'm going to be aware that I'm not healthy, then my question would be, but am I willing to practice it? No. So then you're just in talk only. It's like when people talk about love, it's just talk only, because if a person is expressing love, they don't have to talk about it anymore because they're too busy doing it. Same with the word peace. If a person's truly in a state of silence, them keep talking about it is a reminder you have never got in it, because once you're in that state of silence, you don't talk about it anymore. It's like the word truth. People keep talking about the truth. Once you feel the energy of truth, you don't talk about it. I talk about being honest, because I know I'm not honest with myself. The day, or when I get those moments where I'm genuinely feeling I'm honest, I don't say the word anymore. We reveal to the self, not to others, but you can if you're an observer. We reveal to the self where we're at. People are going to say, like when you had brought up about Red Act, when they talk about the currency, this has been talked about for years. This is nothing new, but the masses finally get on board. If somebody had told us that the cell phone existed for generations ago, people would say, but I don't see it. Most people have to see it in the material world and then see a whole bunch of people using it. And then and only then they're going to say, oh, I see it now. So then it's true. What's true? That the cell phone exists, wireless devices exist, wireless electricity exists. When people first introduced the vehicle, when people were still using the wagon and horse, they were very resistant.
Do you consider yourself of the generation of baby boomers?
What are those years, Jaro, for a baby boomer? Because I know they categorize years. So what would that be? You know how they use Generation X and all that. Is that in the 60s, the 70s?
After, I don't know from what date to what date, from what year to what year, but
Okay.
maybe it's probably like, if you could graph it, maybe it's like a bell curve or something.
It could be. It could be, yeah.
So it's fuzzy, but the baby boomers, they call it that because perhaps right after World War II,
Mhm.
there was, I guess, the United States became the richest country in the world now that everybody else got beat up. and so they after the war, I guess they encouraged people to raise families, to have lots of kids,
Mhm. Well, I think,
buy a
Gerald,
little house and all that.
the same people that do population control are the same people that are going to use those terms. So if all of a sudden they do hunting season on a certain animal and then they actually protect them for a couple of years or a generation, that's the baby boomer. So they control things like birth control, even with the same sex. Regardless if there is people that have the ideal or they enjoy being with the same sex, which is their choice. But when they promote it openly, what they're doing is they're trying to promote population control because people that are of the same sex can't reproduce. So when they do birth control, or another thing that they've been doing for the last 10 or 15 years, increasing houses, so that people will say, I can't afford to have a child. So what I'll do is I'll end up taking the birth control pill, or I'll do abortions. And then when that doesn't work, they've done things like wars. Wars a lot of times is about reducing the population. Even in the old days, when kings were no longer fighting wars, they would do war after harvesting because they didn't want to have that many more mouths to feed. So they would pick a neutral site that's not for planting, and then they would get everybody's soldiers that were like, bottom of the barrel to just to die. It's like watching Private Ryan. They knew they were going to send a whole bunch of guys to a beach that are just going to get shot and killed. They're expendable, but they'll spend more value and time recovering pilots, POWs. But when it comes to the foot soldiers, they're cheaper than beanbags. And that's about population deduction and maintaining. Because most of us, whether we agree it or not, have chosen to enjoy our comforts, and where most people do not no longer want to become farmers or hunters, but yet they want to earn more money, so they'll become doctors and lawyers. So what does that really say when we're being entertained with athletes or doctors and lawyers? We're not taking care of ourselves. That's what it means, having more doctors. We don't know how to handle our own affairs. That's why we have lawyers. And then we also want to be entertained with our movie stars and our actors. So then how are we showing that we're trying to work with nature when we're actually combating our own need from things? This realm already has all the needs necessary here, but it's our lacks. We need to have the skills to know how to be farmers or hunters, look at the moon and the sun. Most people don't want those crafts. Most people don't even know how to build their own shelter. I'm talking from the very hypocritical point of view, but I'm okay with talking about it. Doesn't mean I'm going around saying I'm going to change anything, because there's people that are already doing all of that, and they're not doing it for the betterment for everybody else. There's been many people that have written about this. They put it in a poetic form. We're small amount when it comes to just a voice, and the people that are doing a lot of things, they're doing it to encourage it. Electric cars. Why? Because we're spending way too much resources using the oil to build all our technology. But then we think somebody's the evil guy, Bill Gates, the evil guy. Okay, then let's all grow our own crops. How many people who actually want to do it, let alone know how to do it? Where does the sun and moon have to be? This has been going on for not generation history, who knows how many centuries, and it will continue. For the people that choose to be farmer, all the power to them. The people that want to be in tribes and hunt, all the power to them. But most of us, I can only talk, that's overgeneralizing. I've lost the ability to know how to be a sovereign being.
Okay, so there was an admonition going back to the garden story that the day that you partake from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that would be the day that you die. And Harold, you brought up the idea of the millennius, which sort of thinks in terms of thousands, such as 1,000-year periods. Prior to the flood, people were living 1,000 years. After it, you get this sort of scale that tops out at 60 or 120 years, what we're more used to today. So in those millennial terms, the idea that you'd surely die, that could mean in a godlike term, that because there's another scripture saying that 1 day is or 1,000 years is 1 day to you. From that Heavenly Father perspective, we do surely die when we take from that. And what is the issue? I'm going to pause that the issue is a lack of maturity. Sometimes you have to listen and obey in order for the best outcome. And acknowledging that is itself an act of maturity, and thinking that you know better and doing the wrong thing, listening to the snake or to the opposition is what brings all the delusion and all the pain and all the premature death, the negative emotions that result from the consequences of taking in the lie, taking in and complying with it. And it keeps us immature and makes us unsovereign, because we're not really here necessarily to be sovereign. But if we hold up God as sovereign, I'm not talking about a straw man God or a Satan posing as God or an antichrist. I'm saying if we say Christ is king, best of all possible outcomes will be a result, even acknowledging that in such a system, there's still going to be people who are going to be messing up even the best of possible.
What's an example of immaturity or immature
We're all examples.
attitude?
Everyone in this room is an example of immaturity in one way or form of another.
It's Joel time. Joel to the world. Joel, I think is the elder immature person here. I think.
Yes, he's always trying to get us to play his game.
Joel, do you consider yourself one of the generation of baby boomers?
I do.
Do you think that baby boomers are mature or immature in their attitudes, like during the Vietnam War? Well, maybe Canada didn't have that problem, but wasn't it immature of them to just say find ways to get out of the war, whereas the generation before, they cherished going to war and dying for it wasn't even our country, it was over in Europe. What is that generation called? The one before the baby boomers? The one that had
in the United States, you have the silent generation, those born during the Second World War, of which Joe Biden is a member. And then you had the well, we don't have to get too caught up in that. What I think more closely describes the boomers, besides the fact that these are the children born post World War II, during a boom of population and economic growth, is their buy-in to this sort of commercial material world that is made for the purpose of where you get the introduction of planned obsolescence to the furthest degree possible, where you make things to generate income and have sort of like a cheap sort of wealth that's widely distributed, and you're defined by your purchasing choices.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm part of the generation that tries to avoid tornadoes.
That's why you avoid Florida and you went to, I know, you went to Texas. No, hurricanes is what happens here mostly.
Up and
Don't
down
they
the
have
alley.
hurricanes in Texas? You went to Texas.
And was it all by car?
I'm still in Arkansas.
Oh, wonderful.
Are you avoiding tornadoes in Arkansas?
Trying to.
Mm.
So how are you finding? I look forward to when you're done eating, so we can hear about your great American adventure.
Well, I'm in West Memphis now, and
Are you going to Graceland?
I guess it's no. We're going to, but it's very expensive. It's almost $100 a ticket just to go see it. We actually thought about it. We're not far from there, but I'm not that big a fan,
Mhm.
and we got a lot of driving to do yet.
Memphis has, well, in Nashville too. They have wonderful music scenes with some of the best musical artists.
Mhm.
And I've heard of people who go into bars and they hear the most astonishing music.
Mhm.
That feels better.
Excellent.
I'm at the breakfast table here in the wonderful 6-star Ramada Inn. Where they have hard-boiled eggs as the hot entree. But they were boiled yesterday, so they're no longer hot. I guess you can put them in a microwave, but was Dawn here this morning?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I missed her.
Mm. And I talked to Luis Del Pino yesterday, and he suggested a topic for today would be opponent process theory in psychology. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, well, I did just now when you spoke it.
Oh, wow. You're up.
So will he come and expound upon it?
No, but he said something about a seesaw, that there's somewhere in the brain that there's figuratively speaking, a seesaw and a fulcrum, and then we're automatically or balancing or doing something in there, and then I looked it up. I looked up that theory, and it meant an example of it would be fear. Like when we fear something and we approach it often enough, then the fear dissipates so that we get used to it. How does that happen? Through opponent processing. And maybe the eye uses opponent processing to come up with colors. I don't know. Maybe there's like only 3 like a television, digital television. There's only 3 colors, like blue, green, and red, and then combined, somehow we get all the other colors. I don't know. Hmm.
I gotta get a refill before all the hard-boiled eggs are gone.
Maybe.
There was a study or a theory going along that for an earlier period in human development, humans did not see or perceive, or didn't have the build out to be able to perceive the color blue.
Hmm. We could only see red and green. Maybe.
When you
Red
read the ancient Greek literature, the sea is described as being green. Thank you, dog, for peeing on my comforter. Now I gotta wash that.
Oh.
Ah,
Mm. Imagine that. Looking up in the sky and it's green. What a horrible.
Dog in the bed.
So maybe
Dog in the bed.
through evolution, man needed to see, to distinguish between the
Dog in
green
the bed.
grass and the
Dog in
blue
the bed.
sky. Because if he looked down and saw green grass and looked up and saw green sky, he might run into one of them or something. No, wait. Maybe he was looking for minerals in the mountains, and there were some that were colored blue. And so he needed to develop the ability to see blue so he could find those jewels in the mountains. Or some stones like lapis lazuli. That they use that stone or whatever it is to get the pigment for blue. And maybe it has medicinal properties.
or maybe the whole story is just a distraction.
Oh, and what about purple? Purple haze. Or purple is a mixture of blue and red. If we weren't able to see blue, then the purple would just look like red. That could be a problem. Everything would be just red and yellow. That would be a boring, maybe green. Everything would look green or yellow. But green has a little bit of blue in it. But, well, when you mix them with pigments, you mix blue and yellow and you get green. But it doesn't work that way with light. Or you only need red, green, and blue. Why is that?
There's a wonderful scene from one of the episodes of the television series Malcolm in the Middle, where one of the brothers, who's maybe maybe the least intelligent of the 4 brothers in the program, mixes a vial of yellow and a vial of blue, and he's amazed because he's come up with this completely new color. And the vial that he comes up with, I mean, it's a green vial, and he gets really excited, and he decides he's going to patent it, he's going to copyright it and trademark it. And he's going to call that new color Blello.
Blello. Blello.
It's just a green vial.
Blello. There's blue, blello, and red.
So how many days is this, like day 17 for you, Joel? Is it no? Which day of your journey are you on? No. Do you remember what date you took off? Was it before the Ides of March? Okay. Well, here we are in your second month of North American journeys. How exciting. Did you go only as far south as Dallas? Okay. That was enough.
Well, it's a lot farther than I thought it was.
I would think that it would be, yes, especially if you're driving it. Texas, especially, is I mean, it's the kind of state where
Huge.
you just keep driving and driving and driving. Or so I hear.
Hmm.
Have you
But I
have you
did-
driven us? Oh, go ahead.
I did make it to the rattlesnake roundup.
Right. Yes, you told us about that last time. That was fun.
Oh, oh. I made it.
And where will you be practicing today, Iro?
I made it to the Cherish Your Center Day. That's where people that come to this center to gain Buddhist knowledge, they come April 1st, a special day, and the center director decided to make it Cherish Your Center Day. And so from 9:30 to 12, or for however long you want, you come here to clean the center, maybe dust, maybe vacuum, maybe do something outside. So I'll do that for a half an hour, then I'll go to yoga. Yes, I'll do something cherishing the center so it doesn't get dirty.
So do we.
So make me feel good about it.
Great. All right, so you'll have to put down the phone in order to pick up a mop or broom at some point.
Oh, I could lower the volume and turn off the mic and the video.
Listen to Joel's latest
Running.
installments of Adventures
Oh,
Across
it's plugged
America.
in somewhere.
Cleaning.
Like I could keep it plugged in the kitchen. Let's see.
So
And there is
Is
There's the
Hiro
center
running the
director.
Zoom off of his phone?
right now, yes.
Neat. I didn't know you could do that.
yes, I'm amazing.
Well, the people who wrote the software enabled them to be.
Oh, another center member, and there's the center cats, and there's the center meditation and modern Buddhism. Everyone welcomed, even me. They let me in too. Wow.
Even people in Arkansas.
Mm.
Yes.
I'm
Oh,
sort of,
people from Arkansas are
I'm
also
in the
welcome.
center too.
More so, yes.
At least in a metaphysical sense. Hiro, are you the first person there?
Mm.
No, I'm the third person here.
Actually, there's one more in the parking lot.
There's one
Is that
more in the
including
parking lot.
Rami and I?
Oh yes, you guys can come and help out too. Joel is in Arkansas. He can, or where are you? Memphis, west of Memphis. Yeah, shouldn't take you long to get here. Hmm.
So to fill you in just a little bit more, Joel, in talking about oppositional, whatever it was, processing theory, one of the aspects of it was the idea of becoming desensitized to fears. And Stacy and I offered Jairo for when he's done at the meditation center to go with us to Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay to ride the roller coasters to try to put some of that into effect, but we don't think he's going to take us up. And that's okay.
What was the occasion for Dr. Del Pino to arrive?
He was not actually part of the group this morning. He
Oh, okay.
really suggested that topic. So he was still having an influence even while not participating.
That's what happens when you get a PhD.
That's okay. Jairo's got his goatee now, so lives on in one way or another.
Are you aware of these new features of Zoom?
Such as?
Where you can reply to the chat to specific messages?
That's been there for a long time.
Has it? Oh, I just learned about it.
Mhm.
So what else is happening in Florida? We couldn't find a place to stay in Florida, so we had to go to Texas.
Yeah, I think that's probably a little bit more exciting because you get to dodge the tornadoes. Did you see video from the big one that occurred in Mississippi?
No.
Oh my goodness. There's at least 23 dead, probably more. Whole city blocks just completely it's like, and then
Lifted, yeah.
Mhm.
Now, what's that city in Florida that was totally eradicated by the hurricane? Is that called Marathon? That just before you go on the Florida Keys, there's
Okay.
a city that was destroyed in some year, the whole city.
Well, we've had a few of them where that's taken place actually over the years. Looks like Irma did a path of destruction there in 2017. Yeah, lonely aerial view. I don't know. I'm looking at the pictures and I've seen worse.
Now, is Jairo the only person that goes to this event? I don't see a lot of other people around. Or is that the
Yeah,
idea that you want to meditate privately?
Today is a Cherish Your Center Day. So the people that are coming here are going to fix the center, maybe do some yard work.
Oh, I
and
see.
maybe inside do some vacuuming. Oh, and maybe I'm going to rake some leaves or is there a rake?
Okay, so this is like a community cleanup day. I got it. Okay.
Okay.
I
And
wasn't-
then we have Madam Rick wants us to take all these things out from
Oh,
the way because
we're going to remove these
because
bricks
seems that they
so that people don't hit themselves.
like tripped the other day. A lot of things.
Yeah, like I go, oh,
See? Yeah,
so we're going to remove the bricks.
yeah, but
Like-
the ladder thing. Yeah, I need help.
The ladder
To
thing. To
bring-
bring the
because
ladder. Where's the ladder?
I-
Okay, I'm gonna leave you people. You've got work to do. And Rami, it's nice to see you.
Nice seeing you too, Joel. I look forward to whenever the next update of your adventures across the states.
And Dominic, I didn't hear anything from Dominic, and I missed Dawn. And anyway, stay well, everyone, and I will try to avoid tornadoes.
Thank you, Joel.
I think that's a good policy to follow.
I'll pop out too, Jairo, so you don't feel obligated to keep this thing going, so you can focus on the task at hand. Good morning.
Okay. Thank you, Rami. Bye.